Let's talk about a Strider SJ75. You don't see these too often. They're great knives. I had this one in to fix up a sharpening job that went a little bit awry, but we made the best out of it. It was a little bit wide at the base. I couldn't really do much for that. And then it was a little bit wide at the tip. So fixed it the best I could. Freehand, of course, but you can still see a little bit of remnants there where it was really wide at the tip and at the base here. But I didn't want to remove too much steel. It's extremely sharp, which is why I wanted to talk about the SJ75. It is a funky looking knife. Man, I didn't bring down a Spyderco Manix, which this knife really reminds me a lot of. Of course, like all of Strider's designs, well, maybe not all of them, some. I've got an SNG to show you. At first, when I seen the SNG years and years ago, right, I thought there's no way that that would feel good in your hand. It's a very straight here. This is kind of pointy here, and just straight and just a little funky and weird looking, right? But when you hold it in your hand, it makes all the sense in the world. In my opinion, the SNG really, really feels really nice in my hand. Even choked up, everything. It feels really nice. And the same for this SJ. Now, there's one big downside of this knife is how much space it takes up in your pocket. It is extremely wide. Really should have brought down a Spyderco Manix. It's not wider than a Spyderco Manix. It's right there about the same width, which is one of the big complaints about the Spyderco Manix too, so you can understand it. But what an incredibly well done knife. Really. I love the way that they CC the handles, and they do it with a CNC, so you can see all these little milm lines in here. I don't know if it's intentional or if they just didn't smooth it out. I assume it's intentional because even the way it's cut at a diagonal is like artfully done. You could tell it was like a conscious effort the way it's cut, and it just gives the knife a little bit more flow, a little bit texture when you feel it, a little bit more of a matte look because you have all those bumps, deflecting the light. It's a little bit more flat, but it still has a grippy feel to it. It's almost like a well broken in G10 feel. It's nice. I like it a lot. And then of course you have Strider's signature heat stripes on there. Of course not all of them, but showing you off the detail there. Look how even the lock bar is cut. Doesn't that look awesome? Looks like one of those Zen sandboxes that you drag a rake through. You know what I mean? Cool. I just like it a lot. One standoff that is recessed into, it's shouldered. So this is not just a free floating thing. It's actually shouldered and fits into the titanium and fits into the titanium here, and then it's sandwiched on the outside with a screw, and then this drops through like a Sebenza style hardware. So there's a female side, right? Female side of the hardware, and then the male side. And then that one screw happens to hold the pocket clip. And then the pocket clip, just like any Strider pocket clip, has that little tab that stops it from rotating this way. So it's a really, really minimal design, but still extremely effective. Very stout knife. Very thick slab of G10 here that's been contoured. Before they start contouring it, you can see how thick the G10 actually is. And then the way they contour it too, if you notice the details here, they left it real thick around the pivot. So it's almost full thickness there, and then they round it off here. And then you can see they taper it up after the pivot is done. I don't know, it's a detail that you don't really hear people talk about, but I think it's really important. They left a lot of meat around that pivot. Not really. I wouldn't think for prying strength. This is more of an EDC blade, which is why I really want to give it some camera time. I think I've showed you guys one of these in the past. I know a few of you guys probably own them. It's just not a super popular model. I really don't know why they didn't take off more than they did. I guess because of the thin hollow grind, which is why I think they're so awesome. Before we move on though, I was going to show you this. Talking about maybe a little bit of an evolution of a design, because the SNG's an older design versus the SJ75. And even these have been out a few years, so it's not like it's a brand new design. But this is CC, right? See how they thin it out down here? Thin it out down here, and the pivot kind of pokes out there. Same thing on the titanium here. And I'm not complaining. I absolutely love my CC SNG. But you can see how they learned. And sometimes these will develop just a little bit of side-to-side flex. And I personally feel like it's more this G10 wobbling a little bit because there is no steel liner on the back. They're not like a XM18, right, where they've got the titanium liner on this side. So it's not a major deal, and Strider will repair it and this and that, but it can happen. I see this going a little bit longer. You know, but then again, it doesn't have the pressed lock pin, which if you guys watch my videos, may not be a complete bonus too, because again, everything's a compromise. Sometimes they can crack right there, where this keeps contacting here, and the blade is hardened steel, right? That is a pressed fit lock pin. Sometimes you can get a hairline crack that happens right there around that stop pin. If that does, Strider will replace your blade as long as your knife has not been modified. So that does have a new blade. But anyways, rambling, but I wanted to show you that. To show you I'm not making stuff up. Like the detail here, how they do that, like file work. Of course it's not real file work done with a CNC. Matches the file work look on the spine. Adds a little bit of texture if you're up here. Kind of rounds the spine too. It's not a hard cut edge, but also gives you a little bit of grip too. It's comfortable. Fits in the hand really nice. These two fingers line right up in this indentation. Your last two fingers fall there. Again, I wear about a medium to large size glove. This rests right there on the ramp. No jimping. No jimping underneath. No jimping up top. I see this as an EDC knife. Of course you could hard use it. It's a Strider. It's built for hard use. Right? Frame lock. Nice engagement. I love when they lock up about like that. 50% or more, in my opinion. You can see how they have scalloped both sides of this, so you can still unlock it really easy because it does not have a raised surface here. The best I could show you would be this, right? It's got a lot of space for you to stick your thumb down in there. Some people say if I'm really hard using this knife and I'm cutting like this and I twist up, your flesh can pull that liner over and then you have a slip joint, right? Of course, with that choil there, you're really not in much danger, but I guess it could happen. I'm just trying to let you know. I don't really care too much. As far as design goes, I would rather see it flush like this. Flush like this. And, you know, not to say that it still couldn't happen. Some people say it about frame locks. If you got your flesh that comes in here and you're twisting up, you could potentially unlock it. I've never personally done that in the real world. But if you really want to sit and overanalyze and overthink it, I guess it could happen. But anyways, I don't think you're in any danger. Check this out too. Look how thick, relatively thick, they left the cutout here. I think it's thicker than the SNG. See the lock relief cutout there? So you've got a little bit more strength on the lock bar as far as spring tension, and you can tell it too. This unlocks easier than this does. This is Not too stiff, but you can just feel it. It's got a few more extra pounds on it. Again, that could be how much you preload the spring. If I really wanted to adjust this, or Strider wanted to and really crank it over, of course, you know, it'd be stronger. But anyways, fairly stout. I really like these SJs. I love that there is no jimping here. This is all flush. Meets up here. You can really tell the evolution of the design. There is no lanyard hole on this. Some people are going to like that. Some people are going to hate it. I guess if you really wanted to, you could loop it around that post in the back. And your blade tip is far enough away. So you could get a lanyard on here. Kind of like a SJ75. Right? You could do it that way. I like that versus the SNG. It's a little bit more of a lowrider. There's less knife sticking out of your pocket. I don't mind it with the SNG, but some people, that's a pretty big complaint. Over the years, I think there have been a few manufacturers who start making the aftermarket lowrider clips for the Striders. I don't quite know how that works because of the tab in there. But I have seen them. They're out. And now, of course, with the Pro line, the Mick Strider Customs, he's actually brought some of the clips up around here and down. So, you know, anyways, that's not this. I really dig how simple they are. It's 2 screws to hold the whole thing together, and it's super secure. The way this is a fairly wide standoff. The standoff is shouldered. It comes through both sides of the G10 and this. They left the G10 thicker around the pivot. Have the thicker cutout there. Feels great in the hand. Again, I'm not big for jimping. This feels perfect. I feel like I could use this all day long and not have any hot spots on it. There's not a sharp spot on the whole knife. Right down to the clip, the way they've rounded off the clip. I mean, all Strider clips are like that, but you know what I mean. I guess the one thing you could say, this does not have an over travel stop on it. You think they maybe would have built it inside there. Maybe they could have put a button on there, but I think they're going for the overall clean look. And I really truly feel like this is not billed as the hard use SMF, SNG type knife. This is more towards the EDC cutting side, slicing side of things. And you can tell because this has a extremely thin hollow grind. I mean, it is super thin. Not so thin it feels like you can't cut anything with it, but it feels like you could slice anything you needed to with it. Trying to get you a picture of how thin that actually is. Versus the SNG. I've put a very laid back edge on mine, of course. More performance. But you can just see right here. See that thickness right there? See how thick it is? Looks like I got a little piece of tape or something on my edge. You just see the thickness behind there. And it's fine. That's why I bought the SNG. But I would love to add one of these to the stable. Look how thin that is. You can actually hear it like a straight razor. Do you hear it? You can hear it catching on my skin. You hear it? It's so thin. It's a pleasure. I had a friend send me his about a year ago. I carried it for a few weeks. Loved it. The action is really good. I guess the geometry is a little funky for rear flicking it there. It's a incredibly smooth knife. Of course, not on bearings, on washers. Very smooth, but it does have a little bit more lock tension than most knives. We'll just say that, most frame locks. Most frame locks are not that thick. Right there at the cutout. I don't know. I really like them. If you guys have an SJ, let me know what you think about them. Look how they round off everything. Funky look. I think it looks really badass. But, you know, that's me personally. especially this configuration with the tiger stripes. And then it's got this like Skinner grind. Most people are familiar now, known as the Hinder slicer grind, but really it dates way back. Randall was making knives, and way back, and I believe the grind was out before him. Skinner knives used to come up and do this, kind of a grind that comes up. Anyways, and in fairly tame blade stock too, so it's not super thick to start with. You can see the difference there. Again, I think more along the lines of an EDC. Oh, look at that. You see some scratches on mine. Rides really well in the pocket. Again, going towards, I think it's more of an EDC style knife, not totally hard use. This has the stop pin. We already went over that, about the side to side. This has a conventional pin that's there. Of course, shouldered on both sides, presses through. Really nice. Strider really got their stuff together on this design. Again, if you like it, it's funky. Feels really good like this. If you ever do these pull reverse type cuts, I feel in no danger that I'm going to slide up on that blade, but I can see it might be a complaint for some people. Not me personally. Pinch. Of course, I use my knives like this a lot too. Pinch way up here. There's enough blade thickness up here if I have to cut something with the tip of that. You know what I mean? There it is. That's the Strider SJ. Funky design. You don't see them too often. They are really nice knives, and they work really well in your hand. It's a lot like an SMG if you've never tried one. The cons, it's really wide. If you're fine carrying a Spyderco Manix, though, you'd be fine carrying this. Let's see what it looks like up against this Sage. That's the common complaint I've heard about Spydercos too, is that they're just wide in your pocket. They're pocket hogs. But of course they have to be to accommodate the hole there, you know what I mean? So, a little bit wider than a Sage. Most people can carry a Sage and be fine. There it is, guys. Have a great day. Man, I didn't mean to eat up 18 minutes on the SJ, but it's a cool design. Really thin. Just think slicer. If you order this for yourself or you pick one up, slicer. They're very, very thin behind the edge. So yeah.